Well, hello, fellow Trekkies. Welcome to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and this is the review of the first two episodes of the new Paramount Plus series, Star Trek, Starfleet Academy. And this is the first time, I believe, that I am reviewing any Star Trek material on this show. It's weird. Now, full disclosure, I don't consider myself a Trekkie. I'm not a hardcore Star Trek follower like that. Now, I've watched pretty much everything, in well, not everything, but most of the Star Trek material that has came and went throughout the years, but I wouldn't consider myself a Trekkie. I can't sit back and tell you that, oh yeah, you remember when Kurt was on Delphi 9 and all this other. I can't break down all that. That never was my thing. I was always a Star Wars guy, not to be tribalistic, but that was just my thing. But I did enjoy the Star Trek films, with William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy and that crew. And I did watch the reruns of those shows. And then when Star Trek A New Generation came out, or the Next Generation, I should say, came out around, what was that, the 90s? And you had Jean-Luc Picard, of course, Patrick Stewart. I watched that. But see, my dad was a Star Trek guy, and he was a Kirk guy. And he did not like the Next Generation. He didn't like it because he was like, man, that's not Kurt. See, Kurt would shoot first and ask question later. Picard would try to negotiate, in things peacefully, and that wasn't his bag. But I did like that show for what it was, and I'm not gonna go through. I'm sitting there breaking down the whole history of Star Trek. But anyways, I say all that to say that I'm not a big Star Trek guy. So going into this show, I don't know what it was that drew me to watch this show. The first two episodes, I was just compelled to watch this show. I wasn't like that with Discovery. I wasn't like that with Strange New Worlds, or even Picard. I didn't jump into those shows, but this drew me for some strange reason. And so when it premiered on January the 16th on Paramount Plus, I was there for it. And I still don't know why, after watching it, why I wanted to watch this show. Uh this show was fine. This was all right. I just I don't know why this show is being made. I don't know who this show is for. Even if you're not a Trekkie, or even if you are a Trekkie, or just a casual viewer, or whatever the case may be, I don't see anything that would grip you or draw you to this show. This is Disney level Star Trek, and I'm trying to be as respectful as possible here. And this isn't a kid show, but it just feels Disneyfied. It feels like this will come out on Disney Plus. This is so cookie cutter and uninteresting characters. I mean, that's one thing you could say about Star Trek, because you have character. It is the poster child of diversity, going all the way back to the '60s when the show came out. It is the blueprint for diversity. Instead of races, you have different aliens. You could pinpoint all that stuff. Even addressed all that. The original Star Trek series had the first interracial kiss on television. It crossed barriers. It moved mountains, man. And so this is that type of show. And you got into those characters. You got into Kurt. You got into Spock and Aurora and Sulu and the next generation. You got into Picard, you got into number one. I can't remember his name offhand, but you got off on these characters. You got connected to these characters, and now on this show, now granted, it's only 2 episodes in, but no character is interesting to me. And none of these characters on this show can I definitively say I want to get behind as the hero, as the one to carry the torch. Starfleet Academy, it follows the first new class of Starfleet cadets in over a century as they come of age and train to be officers. Okay, that's the premise of the show. But you have this kind of subplot. Well, it's not really the subplot. That's more of the. It's really the main plot. We follow the character of Caleb as he's the opening scene was fine, in the first episode with this little boy, and you see the mother, and the mother is played by oh my god, I'm blanking on her name. Orphan Black. What's her name? She was also She-Hulk. But anyway, she plays the mother, and she has teamed up with this space pirate so they can eat. She was trying to find food for her son and whatnot, and they get caught, and now they got to go to prison. So she gets separated. He gets ripped away from his mother, and all that. It's a whole thing. Now it's an interesting plot, but does it fit Star Trek? Maybe not. But let's see how they wove it into this story. Now, it's woven into the story pretty interesting, but I don't think it's executed properly. So we pick up 15 years later from our cold open, and now he's not a grown man. He's 21 years old, and he's caught. He's been on a run for 15 years, trying to find his mother and all this other stuff, and he gets caught again and brought to the Starfleet Academy. Now, who's over the Starfleet Academy is none other than Academy Award winner Holly Hunter. Man, it was good to see her on screen. And now Holly Hunter, I she is an acquired taste, and it fits my taste. But you have to really appreciate Holly Hunter for who she is as an actress, as a performer. I love her, but does she fit Star Trek? No, she doesn't fit this show. She doesn't. I understand the story they're trying to tell here, but it just doesn't fit. It's like certain things that she do or her character does that makes no sense. It holds no significance to pushing the story along or helping us. Once again, this is just the first 2 episodes. It could play out later on, but as it stands right now, I'm like, man, I like her just being so loosey goosey with a lot of things, and even when the ship is under attack in the first episode, it's just weird walking around with her shoes off on a space station and all this. It just weird. She's just weird. But to be fair, everybody on the show is weird. The whole cast. I don't know. I can't describe it. Speaking of the rest of the cast, now it was good to see Paul Giovanni in the first episode. Once again, Academy Award winner. He was the villain in the first episode. I don't know if he's going to return throughout the season. It would be nice to see him return. He plays a big part in Caleb's arc. So there's that. Aside from that, the rest of this cast. Now you had some recurring characters that kind of popped in and out that were funny and interesting, but as far as our main cast, our young folks, I can't call them kids because all of them look about 30. But they're supposed to be kids. I don't know who these guys are. It looks like all of them are first time actors, or this is their first big break or whatever. And you can tell there's no main star here. These are fresh. And I guess that's the tone they're going for. Fresh. All right, I get the vision. I get what you're trying to do here. But the acting is not up to par, man. It is so bad. Certain characters, they are so bad. It's like they're reading a cue card when they're saying their lines. Now there are a few of them that feel like they've been on Nickelodeon or Disney shows or something, so they kind of get it. But there are other ones that just it looks like they just walked in and said, "Oh, you look good. Let's put you in some makeup, throw this uniform on you. Just say a couple of lines here." It just it's just bad. It was just bad. I don't know why that decision was made like that. I guess uh, financially, you save you some money, get you a up and coming performer and stuff like that. And I don't like bashing on young actors. I mean, God forbid, I can't act either. So not, I'm not trying to make fun of them. But for the love of God, if you setting up this show for the quote unquote next generation to get invested in Star Trek, these actors, if these are the actors or the characters that's going to move this franchise into the future, you want some characters that you can get behind and get excited about, and put some actors in these roles that would breathe some life into these characters. It is bland. It is super bland with these characters. I can't even get excited. And now the young brother who plays Caleb here, I he got better in the second episode. That's why I'm not really harping on him. First episode, not so much. And then in the second episode, he got slightly better. And so I have a little faith that as we go, if I'm willing to commit and everybody else is, if we, by the time we get to episode 6 or 7, he should be rolling. He should be good to go and comfortable in this character, because that first episode, I was like, oh my God, we were in for a long ride. And he showed flashes in certain scenes, like when he's in scenes with Holly Hunter. Holly Hunter, she's been around a cup a time or two. She knows where the handle is. So she can kind of steer him in the right direction. When he's around comparable actors or seasoned actors, he's a little better, of course, because they're not gonna allow him to look bad, and more importantly, they're not gonna sit there and allow him to make them look bad. So he's better in those scenes, but in the second episode, it looks like he kind of stood on his own a little bit better, and a lot of that isn't the performer as well. That's why I don't want to harp on him too much. The writing doesn't help in certain elements. The direction doesn't help in certain elements as well. So it's it's a work in progress with this show. With all that being said, I'm still willing to stick it out. I'm still willing to watch this show throughout to see where this is heading, because there are some interesting elements to this show. Like I said, the Caleb searching for his mother thing, I'm hooked on that. I want to see where that goes. I want to see Caleb and his love interest. How's that going to play out, with her choosing to go to the war college instead of coming to Starfleet Academy, but now he's rooming with her brother, and I guess in a way to kind of keep an eye on him and stuff, things like that. That's interesting. I want to get to see how that plays out. But everything else is really nothing there. There's no dare there. But we'll see. We'll see. So far, if I had to rate, I'm not gonna grade the first 2 episodes, but if I have to rate it, uh, not too good. It's below average right now, but I have a sneaky feeling it will get better as the season goes along. And so I'm a stick it out. I'm gonna see where it hit. What's the worst can happen? I get mad. Well, I'm already mad, so I might as well go ahead on and finish it out. It maybe it will get better. Star Trek Starfleet Academy is currently, at least the first two episodes, available on Paramount Plus. I would like to know, are you a Trekkie? Or, or you just a casual viewer of Star Trek? And do you have Paramount Plus? And have you watched these shows? I need to get into uh, uh what's the one? Strange New Worlds. That's the one I haven't watched yet. I'm gonna dive into that soon, and see how good that is. But I would like to know your thoughts. Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also comment on social media. Search for the KB Radio Network on all social media platforms. Don't forget about YouTube. Subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel and like this video if you don't mind. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me as we reviewed the first 2 episodes of Season 1, Star Trek Starfleet Academy. Want you all to know that I love you, continue to love everyone, and until we speak again, you all be blessed.